Welcome to CARE Conversations with Clarity Financial Solutions, where through education, we move you from confusion to clarity on all topics touching retirement. Join us as we learn and grow from others' experience on entering into the next phase of life with peace of mind and conviction that you have a team of experts to help you, educate you, and let you know your unique retirement is upon you. So it's time to take a deep inhale, a slow exhale, and walk into this next phase of life confident and with clarity. Clarity Financial Solutions is a holistic financial planning firm laser focused on the distribution side of financial services. Most of your working life, most likely, you've put your head down, gone to work every day, and saved for your retirement. Now you're reaching the time when you're going to be drawing off of those funds. And believe me, we know saving money and spending money evokes very different emotions. At Clarity Financial Solutions, our team has experience in Medicare planning, Social Security maximization, long-term care planning, tax-efficient Roth conversions, required minimum distribution strategies, retirement cash flow planning, legacy, and charitable giving. These topics stitch together, creating a beautiful tapestry that becomes your unique retirement. Allow us an opportunity to learn about your situation and offer you solutions which will bring clarity to topics touching retirement. Welcome to the very last episode of Season 1 of CARE Conversations with Clarity. We are really excited to have been able to send information, expand our footprint on who we touch on topics that touch retirement. We started this season with understanding Medicare, the basics, the building blocks, right? So Medicare A, hospital, Medicare B, medical, Medicare D, drugs. And then once we have a really strong foundation, right? Once we understand what those building blocks are, what original Medicare covers and what it doesn't, then we're able to get into ways to supplement that which Medicare does not cover or that which you are exposed to, right? So super important. The number one reason why people go into bankruptcy and retirement is medical cost. So if we can understand and control those medical costs, then we're able to make sure that the money that you saved for retirement, you're actually able to use for those things that you saved it for, most likely not medical care. Maybe you have a long-term care policy and you've earmarked some funds for that. But oftentimes our clients, when they're saving money in retirement, they're saving it for trips with their families, traveling, things that they haven't been able to do while they're working. Maybe, remodeling a home so they can age in place safely in their home for as long as possible. Maybe they want to save money to help contribute to a grandchild's college education. I know this for a fact because I have tons of clients that sit right in that chair right there, and that's what they tell me. So it's very important for us to understand if we're true financial planners and working in the distribution phase of life, if we have to understand healthcare in retirement, different VA benefits, right? So TRICARE for Life, CHAMP VA, regular VA benefits, retiree coverage that maybe your company that you've worked for or your spouse's company has offered you, and be able to compare that to original Medicare and the different options and give you solid advice based on math. We do not want our clients to be concerned about things that we can control, and we can't control people's health, but we can control cost when we have good information about familial history and different things like that. And that's why we ask questions like that. It's way more than rate of return. I had a client one time reach out to me from ICU, right? So this person, dear to my heart, of one of my very first clients, in ICU, and calls me to ask me if their Medicare supplement really is going to pay for all the tests and the treatment that she had been given. She was petrified that somehow, some way, these expensive tests and costs and life-saving treatments were going to land in her mailbox and not at an insurance company. And I was able to reassure her, A, not to worry about that right now, but to focus on getting better. But that B, yes, original Medicare A and B, and her supplement, which at that time was a Plan G, was going to cover 100% of all of those medical costs in ICU, plus all the rehabilitation that she was looking towards, as long as she paid her Part B premium, as long as she paid her Medicare supplement Plan G premium, and her Part B deductible, which in 2025 is $257 a year. She felt a little bit better and was able to rest and recover, and we've had many, many appointments and conversations over the years since then. But to be able to have someone, a relationship with someone that cares for you, that you feel comfortable enough calling and asking those questions, is imperative. The amount of concern that she was faced with, sitting in an ICU bed on top of her health, was just really one of the reasons why I love getting to do what I do, which is put people at a place of peace of mind, instead of scratching their heads and wringing their hands and being concerned about these topics that they may not fully understand because they're new. So Medicare, is a very important topic that we're going to continue in our next seasons to flesh out, to really talk through. But hopefully, if you didn't get to watch, episode 2 and 3 and 4, I think, go back and watch those. They're really an important foundational building block of what information and topics we're going to be bringing to you in the future. But call our office, and if you're not local, that's okay. We will find someone in your area that will be able to sit down and really walk through the who, the what, the why, and the how of the plan that you have, why you have it, what it covers, what it doesn't, what you are giving up if you have given up something, and what you are accepting as a benefit. Our goal is for clients to have all the rights and options available to them and to understand what they are, so they don't get a bill in the mail and all of a sudden their jaw drops and they're faced with the decision of, okay, do I go on my family vacation or do I pay this hospital bill? And guys, unfortunately, that happens all too often in our world. I had a client come in, her husband passed, and we were going over some financial issues and matters. And in the conversation, she had told me that she had received a bill from the hospital, over $5,000 for anesthesia from an operation that her husband had before he passed. So, a couple minutes, less than 5, of doing some digging and getting on the phone, that bill was erased because she didn't know it. She didn't know it. Her husband was on an Advantage plan and called the Advantage plan, called the hospital, and was able to let her know that that was not a bill that she needed to cover. Obviously, that made her happy, but more importantly, it made me happy that I was able to reassure her and also check a box off a very long list of things that she was having to take care of after losing her love of over almost 40 years. So Medicare, it's personal, it's your health, and it matters. It is not something to take lightly. It's definitely not something to take advice of someone on the television or a 1-800 number of someone that you don't know. and you'll never probably speak to again. So just understand that understanding your true foundational building blocks is something that's not hard when you have someone walking alongside of you. As I say, being that tour guide through the Medicare maze. After Medicare, we went into long-term care, and man, that is an emotional topic, right? Talking about, perhaps your loved one or you are you're not able to perform 2 of the 6 activities of daily living by yourself without needing assistance. That is that can be really tough, and it can be hard to bring up. It is my job as a financial advisor focusing on the distribution phase of life to bring those scary topics out of the dark and into the light and shine some light on them. Let us talk through how can we ensure that if this does happen to you, if this does happen to your loved one, that we're able to pay for the very expensive care that they need to have the highest quality of life possible in the location of your choice. I think oftentimes, and I could be wrong, but take a second and just think through. When you hear the words long-term care, what comes to your mind, right? What emotion does that evoke for you? Or does it? Is it so far removed from your thoughts that it doesn't evoke an emotion? Clients that have had family members dealing with this are way more apt to talk about it, right? Way more apt to bring it up. A lot of my clients want their children to be their children and want their spouse to be their spouse and not their nurse. Even if their loved one wanted to be provide that type of care and be a nurse for them, unfortunately, sometimes it's just outside of their scope. They don't have the skills or the know-how to effectively help someone in the way that they need. Topics like long-term care, medical cost, laying in bed in the ICU and thinking, who do I call? Not always fun, right? And way different than what is my rate of return on my portfolio. And hopefully you can see by now that that's the difference in our practice. When we are dealing with the accumulation phase of life, so the saving side, we're focused on what? Our life, going to work, producing income, raising our families, saving for retirement. When we enter into that spending side, the distribution side, now we're talking about spending that money. And these topics like Medicare and long-term care start to have meaning because all of a sudden they show up in our mailbox, just like the AARP card that showed up in my mailbox in February when I turned 50. So I want you just to know that the language of financial planning changes. Words change. New words enter into the planning phase as we enter into this distribution and legacy phase of life. Long-term care can be solved. You don't have to have $5 million. You don't have to be a Greek Adonis and healthy, right? Nothing wrong with you. A lot of our clients have high blood pressure. They may take cholesterol medication. Maybe they're diabetic, and they still can produce some type of solution to protect their portfolio. It's so important for us to talk through that. Now, after that, in season 1, we got into Social Security, a hot topic. So a lot of people on the news, right, are talking about it, definitely during the election cycle. agnostic of political party, Social Security is something that everybody has to talk about because it's part of how we plan for retirement. And we cannot silo or put our Social Security benefit on some type of shelf and not bring it into the income plan for retirement, especially if we have a spouse. And why is that? If you're the higher wage earner in your family and a couple, the decisions you make on when to claim Social Security don't just affect you, they affect you and your loved one. And I think it's very important to understand that that decision can mean hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on how you live, how long you live, $1 million. And we talked about that in episode 5 and 6 and part of 7. We actually brought in Hamilton Morales, who goes all over the country and talks to financial advisors, clients, and does webinars and does, dinner seminars on how clients can better understand Social Security rights and options, when to file, how the benefit is calculated, what spousal benefits might be available to them. And then on top of all of that, legislation that's present in today's world, the fact that Social Security could become insolvent. On paper, it is in the future, but there are many things that are being discussed to prevent that from happening. So it is important that people start really understanding more about Social Security and not just taking it for granted. The other thing that I think is pretty important to understand about Social Security, and last evening I did a seminar about the changing world of retirement, and one section was about Social Security maximization. And unfortunately, what a lot of people don't know is the taxation on Social Security currently, and that may change in the future, but currently is such that it can create a hole in your lifestyle expenses and your plan that you have to make up for. So if I'm expecting a $30,000 a year benefit, but I have to pay tax on that $30,000 because of other income that I bring in, and that's just the law determined by your provisional income, how much other income you make, etc. If I'm expecting $30,000, but let's just say I only am bringing in 28, then, excuse me, not 28, 22, then I have an $8,000 hole, right, in my expenses for my lifestyle. Well, most likely, if most of my money in retirement is in tax-deferred accounts, where am I going to go to make up that difference? Back to my traditional IRA or tax-deferred accounts. So if I pull more money out of if I have a distribution, I'm pouring more money out of those accounts, it's going to increase every dollar in addition of my distribution is going to add a number of cents of my Social Security that's going to be added to my income and thus taxed. So it's kind of like a snowball rolling downhill. And if what I just said has you scratching your head, you're not alone. It is a complicated mathematical equation and one that we go through with our clients in detail so they understand the impact of Social Security taxation. So understanding spousal benefits, understanding Social Security, how it's calculated, making sure that you have an SSA.gov account, that you have gone in and looked at your work history. Why is that important? Because if Social Security is calculated on the highest 35 years of my earnings, and I have 6 zeros in those years that I know that I paid taxes, guys, what does a zero do to an average? It's not a healthy thing. So we want to make sure that we agree with our work history before we elect our benefits. And that is a question that is asked. Super important. And then after that's averaged, that's the top 35 years, it's going to average out into something called your averaged index monthly earnings, AIM. That AIM is then going to be put through 3 different bend points that haven't changed in quite some time. And after that calculation is made, that is your benefit. And at full retirement age is how all things are calculated. So make sure you go on ssa.gov, make sure you have a username and password, and you've looked at what your benefit is at full retirement age. You've looked at your work history and you agree with it. And then know, based on the different levers that the Social Security website has, when you draw benefits, what that will be. Okay. And then know that if you're a spouse or an ex-spouse, you have options on your own benefit. So lots of things around Social Security that are important. And don't think about it as a monthly amount. Please don't. Think about it as a monthly amount times 12 times however many years you live. So at least 15, 20 in retirement, maybe 30. Multiplying that out and then even adding cost of living adjustments on top of that, it is a huge piece of retirement planning. Okay. It's a lot. I know. So please go back and watch those 2 episodes if you have not had an opportunity to and you're interested in Social Security. We tried to make it interesting. We tried to make it fun. And we're going to be in the next season doing a lot more interviews so that we can really bring scenarios to life. But how do you do that without the fundamental building blocks first, which is what this first season was all about. So lastly, we talked about taxes in retirement and how many people out there, friends, were told, overfund that tax deferred account, that 401, that 457, that 453, what at 403A, 403B, there's not a 453. Sorry, that was a quiz. That was a trick. Trick question or trick statement. But what I want you to know is all of those accounts that are tax deferred create tax in the future, right? That's just what they do. The government allows you to take a deduction, grow money tax deferred, and then when you take it out, you pay income tax on the amount at whatever income tax bracket you're in. And oftentimes people are told what? That they'll be in a lower tax bracket when they retire. Last night at my seminar that I taught, when I said that, how many of you out there have were told that you're going to be in a lower tax bracket when you retire? And more than 10 people of the 30 present laughed out loud because they were, and now they're not. They have income coming in from different sources or investments or things that they've done really well, but they just didn't know the impact that those investments were going to have on them in retirement when it comes to taxation. Really important. So understanding, taxes in retirement, to me, is a huge topic. One that people that pay tax really want to understand, because guess what? You cannot avoid pay tax, but you can control when and how much based on certain things that you do. Lots of tax efficient strategies we use in our practice, and most financial advisors working in the distribution phase also do this. I mean, we need to understand how to make sure that our cash flow in retirement is the most tax efficient as possible, especially if you ascribe to the thought that taxes might increase in the future, which a lot of people do. And whether they do or whether they don't, Every dollar that you get in retirement, where 100 cents of that dollar is going to go to you and not other people or other entities, is a win in our view. So understanding true income tax, true capital gains tax is important, but also understanding things that you just pay more for if you make more money, which is also a kind of tax. So understanding how taxable income could affect your Medicare premiums. What? Yes, your tax returns this year, let's just say 2024, tax returns in 2024 are going to affect your Medicare premiums in 2026. And it's significant. Instead of this year in 2025, the average earner, whatever that means, would pay $185 for their Part B. What if I told you you could pay over $600? And what if you're married, that's $600 and change times 2 times 12 from decisions that you made 2 years ago. And maybe they were the absolute right decisions, but you just didn't know what dominoes were going to be falling because of them. Knowing has power. And if I know and understand, it's okay, right? I know there's a plan and we're moving towards something. If things just happen to me, now I'm frustrated, right? Especially if I'm a budgeter, which so many of my clients are. So taxes in retirement, understanding where to get money for lifestyle needs or travel needs or purchases or paying off homes. It's not doing or not doing things you want to do. It's where do I get the money? Out of what type of accounts do I get the money that I'm choosing to make these purchases and or lifestyle choices for? That's what's important. That's what matters, because that's what affects your taxes. So lots of cool strategies that we talked about in taxes and retirement, and one of my most favorite topics because it truly can make a huge difference in your legacy, but also your cash flow in retirement. So today, can we edit that out? Thank you. Today, we're going to talk about we're wrapping up, right? We're wrapping up season 1. We're wrapping up the difference between accumulation and distribution. And we're moving into the next season where me, Amanda, and Chantel Haynes, who runs our Georgia office, have retired people. We are going to talk about the emotions that they have had when they first met us, what they were scared about, what kept them up at night, what we went over in our first few meetings, the plan we put in place, and then their retirement, them walking into life after work and how they feel now. I am very excited that you're going to meet them, that you're going to hear their stories, that you're going to see the peace that they have about their life, their cash flow, and ultimately the choices that they're able to make because they're confident and they have that peace of mind. So join us for next season. We're going to take a little break and then we'll start up in March and really dive deep with some pretty amazing couples on how they retired from life while working to life after work, confident and with clarity. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining our season 1. And we hope you join us for season 2. Join our Clarity Financial Solutions family, where through education and others' experience, we empower you to make retirement choices with confidence. Follow us on Instagram or Facebook, or head on over to our website and sign up for our newsletter. If you'd like to further engage with us, please don't hesitate. Just reach out, 864-987-8729. See you next time on Care Conversations with Clarity.